Today on the channel, we got a review that is simply ravishing with WWE Mattel Elite Legends Series 25, Ravishing Rick Rude, Regular Edition.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another Legends Series 25 unboxing and review. And today on the channel, we got the Ravishing one. We got Ravishing Rick Rude from Legends 25, but this is the regular edition. Stay tuned for the Chase edition. But of course, for all your Rick Rude Legends needs, Target, but for everything else wrestling related, hit up Ringside Collectibles. Use discount code Kyle. Save yourself 10%. Got to get a deal out there. And of course, going to do this review like we do all the other reviews on this channel. We're going to take a look at the packaging. We're going to talk about it. We're going to unbox it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see where it goes from there. And what can you say about Ravishing Rick Rude? One of the best bad guys of the 80s and really into the 90s. And if Rick wouldn't have got hurt by that old stinger, now usually I give Sting all the love. He's like a young Ultimate Warrior, just a couple steps below the Warrior. But we do know about that back injury over in Japan. It ended Rick Rude's career, which I don't think ever made Rick Rude right again, really. But he did still have time, of course, DX, all that kind of stuff. Trading over to NWO back and forth. We remember that, but I fondly remember his time in ECW. It's just absolutely amazing. When he untoed the mask and we saw him and Shane Douglas, I was like, oh my gosh, is Rick Rude coming back? And then Rick Rude on a mic, always spicy. I was just imagining what we're going to get in ECW. And we got a lot of that in ECW. Unfortunately, never got to see him wrestle again. But man, one of my favorite performers of all time, and always trouble for that Ultimate Warrior back in the day. We all remember their Intercontinental title feud, their World title feud. I remember when they announced the SummerSlam cage match with Warrior and Rude, I was a little kid, and I remember I was so conflicted as a little boy because the next day, SummerSlam was on a Sunday night. Monday was the first day of school after summer break, and I was like, I couldn't wait for that match, but at the same time, like, I don't want to get that match here because my summer will be over. It was such a conflicting time for a little kid, not wanting to go back to school, wanting to enjoy his summertime, and that's where I was with this one. But I always remember Rick Rude going to WCW as such a huge, big deal. Part of me as a kid said, you know, he just couldn't beat the Warrior, so he had to go to WCW, and I said, he's in for it because he's got my boy Stinger over there. But Rick Rude, I felt like, obviously made a huge name for himself as Ravishing Rick Rude in the WWF, WWE back in the day. But it felt like he went to another level and felt like such a bigger deal over there in WCW. And it could be, you know, just a small pond, big pond type kind of thing between WCW and WWE at the time, maybe. And he had a huge name from WWE, WWF coming over there, and it maybe made him feel a little bit bigger than he was. That could be some of that. But the Dangerous Alliance, one of the all-time great factions. He was really the leader of the Dangerous Alliance with Paul E. Absolutely loved that era there. Of course, his matches against Flair, Steamboat, Sting, and many others. Just so much to like about Rick Rude over there. So I really enjoyed his time in WCW. And it's nice to finally get some WCW Rick Rude figures in our collection. Heck, we get two, with this one being the regular. We will unbox the Chase and rank the entire way from my least favorite to my favorite. So you have to stay tuned to that. But very cool to get us something different in the Rick Rude game. Wouldn't be shocked to see more Ultimate Rick Rudes in the future as well. We did get the Coliseum collection, but I could see maybe at least one more down the road. So we'll see what happens. Maybe as a Target Legends Ultimate Edition in the future. But let's dive into this Rick Rude right here. We're starting to understand this packaging. We've had it for a while right now. The big thing about this, there's two big things about this. I love the new title belt. We get the big gold belt. We get a new deluxe version, a better version of that belt, which is pretty cool here. See a lot of people taking this off Rick Rude, putting it with other people, doing that if they want to. But man, oh man, I'm noticing right here is he is missing his tattoo. His sailor tattoo is missing. So we'll dive into that here in a second. So that is extremely disappointing on this one. Ravishing Rick Rude, WWE Legends 25, of course. Old Rick giving that look. Of course, got that mustache going on. Looks like my dad back in the 80s. And it's funny, my dad hasn't had a mustache in like 30 years. But if I close my eyes, as I do many a night, as you guys know, and I think of my dad, he always has that mustache in the back of my head. It's a wild thing. It's a wild thing. It's probably what will happen. I'll cut my hair off, and my kids will always think of me with long hair, even though sometime it'll be like, hey, he hasn't had long hair in 30 years. But there it is, Rick Rude again. On the back, got the tail of the tape, got the blurb, got the cross-sell. Once again, unboxing every single one of these on the channel, so stay tuned for that. See what it says about old Ravishing Rick Rude. Titles: WCW International World Heavyweight Champion, Intercontinental Champion, WCW United States Champion. Ravishing Rick Rude is one of the most impactful superstars in WCW during the early 90s. First aligning himself with the Dangerous Alliance, Rude battled legends like Sting and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. At Fall Brawl in 1993, the Ravishing One defeated Ric Flair and became a World Heavyweight Champion for the first time in his career, which, it's so weird, I don't remember that match at all. I'm trying to picture that in my head. Was that the match? Were they in Japan for that match? Gosh, it's like I just can't remember that match, which is very strange. Very strange. But, you know, you can't remember it all, especially when you get to an advanced age bracket, I bet. I don't know. We'll see. But there it is. You got Rick Rude in the background. Notice Rick Rude's tattoo just gleaming in the light, and gleaming in the light on the back of the box. See you later, like young Mark Price, once again. But missing the tattoo right there. It is so devastating that we don't have that tattoo on his bicep. And I don't know if you guys were like me, but growing up in the 80s, whenever you saw like the anchor and stuff, like a sailor tattoo is what it always looked like to me, I always felt like that was a tough dude you don't mess with. I think that was like an international label for as far as tattoos go. If somebody has that tattoo, you don't talk to them, you don't mess with them. And Rick Rude was the definition of that for me as a kid. Your mileage may vary, but man, really disappointing not to have that tattoo on here. And it'll be even more disappointing if they do another run of these and then they add the tattoo to it. And I can see somebody saying, well, then the non-tattoo one will be worth a bunch of money. I don't care. I don't care about the money. I just want a good one. I don't want to have to buy multiples to replace one either. So I guess we'll see what happens. And I just don't know how that slipped through with Mattel. But I guess it could be another Vietnam factory issue. I guess we'll do the Vietnam check on this, even though it's probably not even worth our time anymore, because seemingly everything we're getting now is fully Vietnam. There was a little bit of time where we got a little bit of a mix. They were mixing the Vietnam and the China, and you never mix the Vietnam and the China. Let me tell you, you don't mix the people, you don't mix the food. You don't mix the factories, let me tell you that. Let me tell you that. But there it is. See you later. Goodbye. All right, let's get down to business here. I'm going to take this belt off as well. But let's get down to business. We got 2 fists of Rick Rude Fury right out of the package. He's going to do those punches. Always loved his punches. Almost like forearms most of the time, though. But always a good one out there with old Rick, so you got to have those. You do got the open hands right there. He's going to give the old hey ladies. He's going to do some of that. Maybe a crotch chop or two. Who knows what he'll be up to. But we got that going on, and then you got 2 gripping hands. So you got to choose your own Rick Rude adventure right here. Of course, like I've mentioned multiple times, he is a chase version in this. You display different hands. You make them as different as possible. We always do that kind of stuff. So make note, make note. But here it is, the new big gold belt. You know we're here for that as well. Looking good. You got the red jewels all the way around it. Always looking flashy. Always looking very nice. Very, very nice looking belt here. We're here for an upgrade belt. Fits, snaps together very easily, which sometimes they will fight you. Sometimes they are a pain. Looks very, very nice. And I know Steve Ozier said, I think at San Diego Comic-Con, said it multiple times, that some of our classic belts from Mattel, when the mold finally gives out, we're going to get new ones, more updated, things like that. And I think going forward, we'll say this one. I think the next time we see it is with the Ultimate Edition Lex Luger Monday Night Wars, Walmart exclusive here in the next month or two. But you do get it with Rick Rude. You'll get it with the Rick Rude Chase. You can take it off there. You can use it with your Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboats, whatever you want to do, if you want to do that. But now we get down to old Ravishing Rick Rude, looking pretty darn good right here. Looks like Rick Rude to me. Beautiful, beautiful mustache. I always think of Rick Rude with the mustache, just like my dad. And if he doesn't have a mustache, it feels really, really weird for whatever reason. A little bit of Tom Selleck going on in the face, and maybe if you're a good customizer, you could almost turn this into a Don the Predator Fry, one of my all-time favorite fighters. Almost looks like Don Fry there a little bit, maybe darken it up with a little black, but it definitely looks like Rick Rude. No issues with that one. He's got kind of a mean mugging face, 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, and a mouth. Haircut you can set my grandma's watch to. All signs point to one Ravishing Rick Rude. And then he's got that skinny torso, but jacked up torso. He always had an interesting body frame to him, Rick Rude. Very skinny, but very, very jacked up for sure. And did anybody ever take an atomic drop like Rick Rude? Did anybody ever do it better than him? I think nobody ever did. I always loved his atomic drop. Not his, but when he got him to him. And it's funny, as a kid, you remember that. You remember Ric Flair flipping over the ropes in the corners and stuff. And it's one of those things like, when you look back on it, you're like, why didn't other people do that? Well, it was Rick's thing. It was Rick Flair, Rick Rude's thing. Rick times 2, I guess. So that was always interesting that you pick up later on that, oh, wait a minute, that's part of the performance with them and all, you know what I mean. But looking good in the upper body right here. Skinny but jacked is what we'll call that. But the show really begins down here, of course, in the tights. And he's got a lot going on in the tights. He's got the numero uno on there. Awesome Elite. Awesome Elite. That's interesting. Or is this a similite? I don't know what that is. Cream of the crop he's got on there as well, like a young Macho Man maybe. I don't know. He's got all kinds of stuff on here. Got Rude down the side. World class. The only perfect human. Superb one. Champion of champions on his butt. Supreme, exquisite, A1. Oh, he's repping the sauce. That's his favorite steak sauce. A1, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Unequaled, top-notch, all-time. Rick on the side, Rude over there. So all kinds of stuff going on. Simply ravishing on the boots, looking very nice. Very tall boots on him as well. White laces, black boots, but a lot of decor on the tights down here. Now, really wish he had a robe as well, but he doesn't always have to have a robe, I guess. But we think of him with a robe, so it would have been nice to have that. Obviously puts the cost a little bit more, just not in the market for this one here. I guess we get the title belt, and that is the difference. But the real bummer on this one here is the tattoo. Such a thing for Rick Rude. We got it with all the other Rick Rude figures. It's on the box multiple places. Just not sure how that didn't come through there. And as I said, we're going to do the Vietnam check. And what do you know? Never forget Vietnam. We got that going on here. And we also got the arms all the way around for us. Bicep cut. Double jointed. Pinless elbows. You know we're here for that. Hands back and forth, side to side. Head back and forth, side to side. Ab crunch plus traditional waist. Got those big old Rick Rude splits. Look at that. Vietnam getting better, though. We couldn't do that not too long ago. Always got to be a little careful there, though. But leg goes up, no bounce back. So nice improvement, constant learning, constant improvement. We say it all the time. Lose customers a loaf at a time, get it back a slice at a time. Playing all the hits here today. You got pinless joints on the knee. Loving those. Of course, I'm a huge champion of the pinless joints. Smooth as butter, moving them around. Looking very nice there. Boot cut. New ankle articulation Mattel adopted last year. Looking good as well. Love, love, love this figure. Wish it had a robe. I understand it doesn't. You got the new title belt instead, I guess. But man, the missing tattoo really, really hurts this figure, I will say. But he does fit on a ringside collectible stand. Use discount code Kyle. Save yourself 10%. But the Ravishing one, rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling his way to WCW as the champion. And also, I used to use this one, or I guess I still do. I have this Rick Rude in my collection. I use this on my WCW shelf, and he will stay on that WCW shelf. But this is one of the more rare, hard-to-find, sleeper, under-the-radar elites that ever existed, as this was a UK exclusive, part of a ring with the Ultimate Warrior way back in the day. It's very similar to his Legends figure, but a different color combination to the tights. So one of those deep-cut elites. A lot of people say, I got all elites, or I got all the Rick Rudes. You got to have both versions. It's no different than a Chase regular edition. A different tight color there, and I use the other one with my WWE shelf. I use this one on my WCW shelf, but now he's going to have a friend and another friend to come with the Chase edition. So I got those going on. Short-haired Rick Rude's, nice to get out there. Definitely different head sculpts on these as well. And then they mentioned Ricky the Dragon, the Steamboat over there. I figured I'd grab the WCW Mario Lopez edition of course, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who was also a Chase. So how about that? 2 Steamboats, 2 Rick Rudes from the WCW time frame. I'm here for that. I can co-sign on that. But looking good on this Rick Rude. Just horrible that it's missing that tattoo. Just a real bummer, if you ask me. Would have liked to seen a robe, is what it is, but the tattoo should have been there. They can't be missing out on tattoos. Little details like that take a figure to the next level or take it down several notches, and that's unfortunately what it does with this Rick Rude. For me, personally. But what about you? Does it take it down a notch or two for you? It's got to, right? Come on. Come on. But let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on this Ravishing Rick Rude. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, my other YouTube channel, and don't forget to thumbs up this video. Always helps the growth of the channel, as you guys know by now. Check out this video and many other videos much earlier on Patreon. Best way to support the channel. Tons of bonus content over there as well. ProWrestlingTees.com, search Kyle Peterson. You can find me on TikTok now, as well as SirPaul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads and on Instagram. And of course, my book available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and now digitally. It is the complete guide to the Jakks Class Superstars series. So for the Ravishing one, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.